All right, so our water maintenance and our water infrastructure maintenance, a big issue throughout the country, as it has been for many, many years now. It's something we're zooming in on for today. It's the provision of potable water, drinkable water, if you will. It continues to be a huge challenge for officials across the country to try and get on top of it. That's not even to speak about what it means for communities. So there's a myriad of challenges around the country. So we're trying to figure out exactly what is going on, what is the problem, where are there solutions, and how easily applicable are they to try and sort out the problem. Sindy Mabe up in the northwest for us throughout the show this morning. Hello to you, Sindy. In the dark at the moment. We saw you with the headline earlier walking around one of the, I don't know if it's a water treatment plant. I'm not too sure where you were. So just fill us in and give us a sense of what you're looking at this morning.
Good morning, Gareth, and good morning to our viewers. Dumelang, Sanbonani, Goeiemôre, Absheni, Namaste. And as you were saying, we're here in the northwest, Bokoni, Buphirima, at the Magalies Water Plant Treatment Center. And joining us is Mr. Sandile Ngobo. He is the acting general manager at the Magalies Water. Good morning to you, Mr. Ngobo, and thank you so much for your time. Just give us a sense of where we are. It's pretty dark, so our viewers may not be able to see just how vast this plant is in particular, and how the processes of separating water when it comes from the dam to the point where it is consumable.
Good morning, madam. My name is Sindy Mabe. I'm the acting general manager, Water Services Division, as you already mentioned. Where we are in the third stage of the water purification. The first stage is where you do the pre-chlorination, where we remove or kill the algae. That is at the raw water treatment, pump station, and the water then is pumped for about 2 kilometers up to the inlet here, and then from there we dose the chemical that will neutralize the charges in the water. Then those charges, they would come together and they would form what we call flocks, and then where we are now, the flocks are going to settle down, and the water, the purified water, will then overflow, and then it goes into the filtration
All right,
process.
because if I were just to glance down here, it looks like algae. I'm not sure what this bioorganisms that are floating on the water. Just talk us through where we are right now.
These are sedimentation tanks. They use force of gravity to remove suspended particles. But what you are seeing here is the algae that has already been killed. The algae is blue in color, and now you can see it's brownish. But because of the temperature, because it's very cold, so when the temperature changes, then the water start turning around, and then you can see this, instead of settling, then it's on top. But what happened then, it will go through to our filtration process, that building there, and then that's where then this will then be removed. Through the sand,
And as you would know, on the South African Morning, we go on a fact-finding mission and bring in the viewers so that we can see the quality of the infrastructure that authorities are mandated to operate. Now, I understand that the Magalies board, primarily as of 1969, only had the mandate to provide bulk water to the platinum belt, as it were. But that's changed since the advent of democracy, which in itself had brought in many more other challenges because it had to expand its services to communities. Are we having a water crisis, Mr. Ngobo?
I don't know in what sense, but we don't, because we have had, in terms of the quantities, we have had a lot of rains this year. Normally this time, our dam sits around 40-something%. Now it's over 80% full because of the unfamiliar rains that we have had. As you know, it's been raining from November last year, and it has been raining even in winter, which is very unusual.
Yes, I'll say in the sense that where we find communities and municipalities having water shortages over 3 days, sometimes even longer. This is peri-urban and urban areas alike, and where it doesn't seem to be any plan or be at political will in sorting out the water situation. So as a tax-paying citizen, all you care for is the fact that when the tap is turned on, the water should be running. And that is a legitimate expectation.
Yeah, that is true, because across the country, but where there are water boards, they are trying by all means to meet the requirement of the citizens of the country. And the Department of Water and Sanitation is pumping a lot of money which we call the social component. But the water boards, most of them, if not all of them, they are self-sufficient. They fund their projects, which we call that part of the economic part. The economic part of it. The social part comes from the government as a grant, so that the communities can have water flowing into their houses. Of course, the influx of people from rural areas and coming to town and all those areas is putting a lot of strain onto the existing infrastructure.
Yes, and perhaps my follow-up question as we wrap is, albeit that the Department of Water and Sanitation is responsible generally, as you're saying, for providing water to citizens, we also have communities that had to access water at, water holes with animals, for example. What do we say, not using this as a microcosm, because this seems to be quite efficient, but we do have communities that are stranded and having to share water with livestock, so it were.
I don't have the figures, but the Northwest province is normally, if I were to zoom to Northwest, because that's where we operate, most communities are getting water through boreholes. The surface water is very limited in this province. And what then happens is boreholes, they are susceptible to people vandalizing them. Of course, then some of them are being run by diesel, and that diesel tends to disappear. And the boreholes, they get vandalized, and the communities then start suffering. But those that are linked into a water treatment plant like this, the areas of Rustenburg and the Platinum Belt, they are, I must say, fortunate.
All right. Now, thank you very much, Mr. Sindy Mabe, the Acting General Manager at the Magalies Water Services, just giving us a sense of the operations, quite technical, Gareth, as you will hear, where you and I take it for granted that the water is expected to flow through the taps. We saw even the filtering center to my left. Later on, when the sun comes out, we'll be able to give you a bigger picture, broader picture of where we are. But it's back to you in studio.
The water treatment plants down to the very ground of where the biggest issues have been. You'll know Cindy alluding to this in her conversation a couple of weeks ago. I was up in Hammanskraal. That's one of those communities where there's cholera outbreaks. Other parts of the country, they've had no water for days, weeks and even months. So Sindy Mabe and our team on that for you throughout this morning.